Hello all, I'm Anusha, a program associate at Novatr. We at Novatr are on a mission to build people who build a better tomorrow by empowering AC community with skills to create innovative and impactful future. Through Novatr Stories, we are going to discover unique career paths of our AEC leaders, their triumphs, challenges, and lessons that they have learned along their journey. Today, we have the privilege of hosting architect Luiz Rivero, a curious and determined computational designer from Mexico. He is currently pursuing his PhD from Swinburne University in Australia and is also working as a research associate at the ARC Centre for Next Generation Architecture and Manufacturing in Melbourne, Australia, who is also a lead mentor at Novatr. With that, I welcome Lois. I'm so excited to have you here and discuss your journey ahead. Welcome. So, hi Lois, how are you?
Hi, Anusha. Thank you for having me. I'm doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. We are so excited to have you and get to know more about you and your journey. So, I hope let's get started then.
All right, let's go.
Yeah. So just to start with, I have personally seen and talked to you, so I know more about you. But to begin with, I just wanted to know who is Luis Rivero, other than an architect and a computational designer. Like, let's say when you were a kid, who were you? What were your dreams about? And if you can start from there about your journey.
All right. So, who is Luis? That's a very deep question, but I would say Luis is a visionary, a dreamer, a maker, but also is a friend you can rely on, a mentor, I hope, for a lot of students at Novatr, and hopefully one of these days, Doctor of Philosophy, I hope. So yeah,
Um, and Louis, like when you were a kid, let's say maybe you're like 15 years or 18 years, like when did the journey towards architecture actually begin? Like did you always aim to be an architect when you were young?
not really. It never crossed my mind. When I was a child, I was more interested in going to the moon, in curing people from sickness, in helping animals, but actually never really focused or really interested in building a better future. As an architect, at least.
Okay. And then like when did you exactly figure out that architecture is something that you want to pursue?
I think it was back in high school, I would say, preparatory school around.
Mhm.
When I had it was a last minute decision, if I am really, really honest.
Mhm.
I had to choose a career. So obviously I made some kind of comparison, some kind of pros and cons
Mhm.
from different professions. And at the end of the day, I stay with architecture. I have to be honest, also, at the beginning, architecture was not love at first sight,
Okay.
but with time, I learned how to love it. So yeah,
Okay. And how was your early college life? You know, maybe the first couple of years of architecture.
yeah, very challenging. I have to say
Sure.
very challenging because I
Yeah.
don't know, a lot of people have the vocation to become architects. Maybe they have parents that were architects, no, that are trained and know the environment. It was not the case for me. So uh, it was totally an unknown world for me. I had to find out things for myself. So it was very challenging, very frustrating at times. I obviously questioned my decision more than once. Um, but at the end of the day, I try to be patient, try to flow and adapt to the process. And yeah, I got it, I think. So yeah.
And what was the most interesting part that you liked? while you were
Mhm.
in college? Was it friends? Were you part of any societies? Was it the design studio in itself? And actually, what is also something you didn't like doing at all?
All right. So I really enjoy going to the design workshops. In
Okay.
Mexico, we had like several levels of design workshops, different complexity, different scale of projects, and these increase gradually as you are moving on your studies. So the design workshop for me was always lots of fun, but also it was always the subject where a lot of students get the lowest grade, because to
Okay.
please someone, it's really hard to come up with a design that likes, I don't know, three supervisors, four supervisors, and all of them agreeing on a grade, a good decision is really hard. So as you can imagine, um, maybe on the grade side was challenging, but
Mm.
I save the fun part of designing, interchanging ideas, and just being creative at the workshop. And on the other hand, something that I didn't like a lot, let me see, I think most of the management or regulation subjects, because they are just square, they are just list of steps to follow, what to do, what not to do. But at the same time, with more experience, I think that you just take it as a challenge. Okay, I have certain regulations that I have to follow. How can I be creative within this framework? So
Mhm.
now I see it as challenge. Back in the day, I saw it like something very boring. So yeah.
Yeah. And then let's say towards the end of your bachelor's, probably anything about your thesis. How was the final year of your
Mm.
college?
All right. So the final year was also really pleasant for me. My thesis was about constructing with CLT systems, cross-laminated timber,
Okay.
which in Mexico, it's kind of difficult. I had the opportunity to live to experiment these kind of buildings firsthand. The first time that I went to Canada, Canada is known to have a lot of timber products and a lot of innovation in wood. So the first time that I stepped into a building totally built with wood was fascinating to me. And I wanted to philosophize a little, try the theory, try to see if it could be something applicable to Mexico as a thesis project was totally valid, to investigate that. So I spent a whole year doing some research on that topic, and it was super fun to me because the project was mostly proposing a building to host students, like departments for students, right? But
Okay.
the full construction system was intended to be designed as a CLT construction system. So it was very fun. Um, so yeah, yeah.
So the thought of maybe working or maybe researching on the CLT, the timber part that you were so fascinated about, how did you jot down your thoughts that this is something I have to pursue as a thesis project, let's say? How was
Yeah,
that decision making or the research? Like, did you have a mentor then, or anything that made you more curious to know more about it?
totally. Luckily for me, I had a really good thesis supervisor back in the day. Um, this lady was a doctor in, I don't remember very well, but she was more specialized in landscape architecture. So
Okay.
when I first pitched the idea of integrating wood as a construction system and not as a construction material that you dispose like is being done in Mexico, was really appealing to her. And luckily, again, she was very supportive. She pushed me to be super creative with the project. She gave me a lot of freedom. And yeah, luckily, when I present the thesis, I obviously passed the exam, but also I got what is called graduated with honors.
Mhm.
So it was very pleasant. And again, I attribute that success to surrounding with the ideal people, because if your supervisors are not super keen to the project that you are trying to pursue, or just do not share the vision, then it becomes a challenge. So I think, yeah, because not only I had that one supervisor, I had two more. And again, you had to find common ground to establish a conversation for
Mm-hmm.
them to go in the same channel, even if it was something that they are not super familiar with. If you express and show what it's all about,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, at the end of the day, you can be capable of being a good communicator and get them involved in this idea, right?
And were you the person who enjoyed giving juries, architectural juries, or how did you handle that situation when you were a student?
Oy, when it comes to the juries, it always was an stressful experience for me. I don't know how it is in other countries, but let me share the experience in Mexico again. When you present a project, usually what you do is that you leave your floor plans, your designs, your models inside of the classroom. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the supervisors gather and the students usually go outside.
Mm-hmm.
So it is like 2 or 3 hours that you are just waiting. But
Okay.
those 2 or 3 hours seem endless because you don't know if you are gonna have good feedback or a good grade or a passing grade, or. So when the private check finish, let's say, you are called back, and then the conversation keeps going. You you are given some feedback
Mm-hmm.
on why your project is failing in a certain area, or can improve in this way, or you can apply, I don't know, this material, this methodology, this approach of design, right? So as you can imagine, 3 to 4 hours of just waiting and being judged in front of a lot of people, because it's also with your other teammates
Mm-hmm.
from the class.
Yeah.
To me was very, um, it caused me anxiety at a point. Uh, I see it as a stressful event, but when the years pass, you become more, I don't know, more confident,
Yeah.
because you know that you keep advancing, you keep learning. At a point, you know a little bit better what you are doing and how to tackle a project.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say eventually that started to fade, but there was always a little pinch of uncertainty.
So, like, even I'm an architect. I've did my bachelor's from SPA Delhi in India. So the juries that we have is basically, although you set up and compose, and there is a model, compose all the sheets, pin up boards. But then for us, it's basically we have to present our design. Like we are also talking about what's the
Yeah,
concept, what's the narrative, and everything. And
yeah.
there are these markings that the external juries and the internal juries, like they just do it. And suddenly there comes a list that this has been your marking. So again,
Hmm.
it goes for like probably an entire day because there are like 30, 40 people in one section. So I understand that pressure. It's
Yeah.
always like a ticking time
Yes,
clock.
yes.
Tuck, 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 and you're just like pulsing on it. But yeah.
Yeah, totally. But the feeling when you just finish that period, I think it could be the same. You just feel relieved. You
Yeah.
just feel like you end up the probably the most difficult
Mhm.
workshop or subject, and now you can rest because it's also the one that consumes most of your time, no? So so yeah.
Yeah. So on that note, let's say from your first year to fifth year, how was the teaching or the curriculum there in Mexico?
Mhm.
Was that were softwares a part of that curriculum design? Like, did you learn something on your own? How was the tool-based learning? Was it even available at that point?
Yeah, I was one of the last generations before an update
Okay.
of the educational program. So
Okay.
I don't know, after I graduated, like a couple of years ago, the study plan was upgraded.
Okay.
So what I can tell you is that I was educated as a traditional architect. I still use pen and paper for a lot of things. I would say even for, I don't know, 3 or 4 semesters, I was dependent of pen and paper.
Mhm.
When it comes to software tools, for instance, the very first one that you learn as a formal class, let's say,
Yeah.
is AutoCAD. No, it's the
Mhm.
basic one, at least to make the transition from pen to digital. Um, Also, I had this class about SketchUp for 3D modeling,
Okay.
and I had an advanced class, let's call it, of visualization. And in that one, I remember I learned 3D Max and
Okay.
V-Ray. All right.
Okay.
So those were kind of the core
Render.
software or tools, yeah, that you were equipped with. No,
Mm.
there are other tools that that you use for other things like costs management and things like that, but mostly for the design practice, let's say, those were the core tools. Yeah.
Okay. And let's say post graduation,
Mhm.
after your college and maybe probably getting your first job, was it immediate? Was there a little challenging or a struggle? How was that phase for you from being a student, maybe working? Like, were you even planning to go forward with a master's? What were your thoughts then?
Once again, I think having a good relationship with my teachers was pivotal to get my first job. Actually, as
Okay.
soon as I graduated, I got my first job. It was kind of a seamless transition for me because it
Wow,
was through
pleased
a
people
teacher.
are you.
Yes, it was through a teacher, actually. I
Yeah.
was not expecting or even looking for anything. I even told myself, okay, I finished the career, I got my degree, I presented my thesis. I think I can have a rest, no? I can have a break here. And I was planning to have just a little break, like
Mhm.
1 to 2 months. But it was seamless. As soon as I graduated, I received a phone call, an invitation to work with a teacher. So I really had no rest, after all.
Hmm.
So it was kind of smooth, I would say, and probably a little lucky too. So,
Yeah, great. So could you tell me more about your first job, where it was,
mm,
how it was, and what were
yeah,
you doing? Was it like starting as an architect?
not
What
at all.
people?
Yeah, not at all. My first job was not even close to architecture. It was more
Okay.
close to urban development and infrastructure.
Wow.
I was more involved into roads, bridges, yeah, urban development in general. So definitely it was something unexpected. But
Yeah.
as a first job, I didn't have much idea of where I wanted to go after
Mhm.
finishing my studies. So I just gave it a try. I left it after what, like 9 months, more or
Mhm.
less, because I knew that that was not for me. I didn't study that. I adapt, yes, I adapt, but was not something that I was looking for, you know? So after I left that job, I really started to look for architect or junior architect, let's say, positions. And yeah, I got my first junior architect position after getting my first job after university.
Okay.
Yeah,
And this was in Mexico.
that was in Mexico City. Yes.
Okay, okay. And after that, I think you also worked as a BIM architect, and
Yes.
eventually now you are as a computational designer also. So could you also give me a little bit insights about how that transition happened from a junior architect to a BIM architect and to finding your interest as a computational designer?
Sure. I was very lucky also to have my first junior architect job with a really, really good enterprise in Mexico City. Um, I basically embrace the BIM methodology being a junior architect. I learned the BIM software in this case was Revit as a starter, let's say, with working for this enterprise, and it was self-paced, it was self-learning.
Okay.
So I started to adopt a BIM methodology working as a junior architect. Later, with time, I had the opportunity to work as well. in a firm that was more dedicated into interior design. But
Mm-hmm.
in that firm, the interesting part, I think, was that I promoted the transition or the adoption
Mm-hmm.
from CAD tools like AutoCAD
Mm-hmm.
to a BIM environment like Revit, BIM 360, and all of everything in between.
Okay.
Because yes, the practice was really nice, actually highly recognized, but the processes, in my opinion, coming from now with coming with BIM experience, was super slow. You know, I
Okay.
was the only one working at the firm with a Revit license, a
Okay.
Revit software, and the rest of the team, I don't know, there were like 10 to 15 more employees working on different projects, all of them working with AutoCAD. And I
Okay.
was finishing my projects in record time, you know.
Okay.
So
Does that
everyone's
make you
like,
feel like a superhero? Who knows?
yes, totally, totally. Because, well, I don't know. I think just some people really do not care that much about keep learning into their once they graduate, you know? So I think it's super important to stay curious, to stay up to date on what are the trends, the softwares, and how to adapt a little bit better for what interests you, right? So yeah, I managed to make the transition from regular 2D to a BIM
Okay.
environment in that firm, which was super nice because working in interior design, you really go into detail. I was modeling furniture, creating families for, I don't know, really small pieces of, assemblies for furniture. So it was very fun to do that. So I would say that was a little bit of the BIM architect, let's say, career. And then the transition to computational designer. I had the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to go back to the enterprise where I started as a junior architect. Luckily for me, the enterprise was always super helpful and supportive in my journey. We still have such good relationship. So I was asked to go back this time as project leader. All right. So in this occasion, I think the plus was that I was learning at that time more Rhino, and I
Okay.
was introducing myself into the world of Grasshopper. So when I started to apply these tools, once
Mm-hmm.
again, it was like, wow, what are you doing? What are these tools? Oh, you can do like, I don't know, 20 proposals in less than an hour, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it was once again the boost of productivity, efficiency, and the increase of creativity that
Okay.
helped me to move from being a project leader to
Mm-hmm.
being actually more like a digital specialist. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where the full interaction with computational design actually boom.
Okay.
So from that moment, I haven't looked back. So yeah.
I'm glad it all worked out for you.
Oh,
And
thank you.
now that we are on the part of computational designer, let's say I'm assuming that you have also switched companies with how you transitioned with these roles. So how did you approach of applying to these companies for a different role? How was the creative challenge of making the portfolios, to make it relevant for that particular job or that particular firm that you're applying? Anything as tips or anything as insights that you want to talk about?
Sure, I always get this kind of question like, hey, Luis, I would like to apply for a computational design position. What are your golden tips for my portfolio now? And I always reply with the same answer. I think as long as you demonstrate there is enough creativity, but also complexity in the things that you do, it doesn't necessarily have to be complex. But what I want to say is that you should present more and focus more on the process
Okay.
than the actual output or the finished project.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for a computational designer, the process should be the most important thing. So if you are able to demonstrate that in your portfolio, I think everything will fall into place later. because people are capable to understand, okay, this project, this product that I am seeing here, I don't think I could be able to do it without using these specific tools or advanced tools.
Right.
So at the end of the day, what I tell to friends or colleagues is add that narrative in your portfolio.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, the story will help you to tell, hey, I am a computational designer, that I am passionate about this, that I have done that, and that I mastered this set of tools.
Okay, great. And especially tools like Grasshopper, maybe even Dynamo, where a lot of visual scripting, maybe a lot of plugins that you use to enhance the workflows. Now, how do you present these as a skill on your portfolio?
Yeah, I usually actually never share screenshots of the script
O-
because I think to non-educated people on the field, it just says nothing. They
Okay.
cannot understand it, they cannot follow the flow of a workflow or a plugin. So what I do instead is showing diagrams that represent the output of such plugin or such tool. All right. So in that fashion, I don't know, I am thinking like a structure optimization. Well,
Okay.
you can be able to develop certain conditions, certain evaluations, certain analysis, and create diagrams with that information. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, those steps, those processes, I take that instead of taking the screenshot of the
Okay.
scripts, and that's what I usually like to share, right?
Okay.
So a lot of people I have seen that indeed they share screenshots or they put the script at the foot of the page. But I think to the uneducated eye, it doesn't say too much, and neither I think that adds a lot of value.
Okay. Yeah.
Personal opinion.
Sure. We are here for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
insights itself. And now let's talk about now, maybe the
Hmm.
in times, the journey
Yeah.
from Mexico to Melbourne. Like, when did you decide to maybe pursue a PhD? And the interesting part that you have also mentioned that you have skipped the segment where masters,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that has its own, challenges. Or maybe, like you said, maybe you have superpowers that we don't know, that it has been easy transition for you. So could you add more insights there?
Sure, totally. So actually, I was working in Canada. I had the opportunity to work for 1 year in Canada
Okay.
when I just pop into this publication on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Um, this center for architectural manufacturing, which is a center of research
Okay.
composed or supported
Okay.
from three leading universities here in Australia: Adelaide, the University of South Wales, North South Wales in Sydney, and Swinburne, where I am in Melbourne.
Mhm.
They launch this research center. They all collaborate to improve the way that Australians are building their environment here, right? So as I said that the before I was in Canada, um, I didn't really like my job in Canada. I was not really enjoying it that much.
Okay.
Um, so when I see this post, I was always curious about academia. I think I told you the other day that I tried to pursue a master's degree in construction and robotics, but it was exactly when the pandemic hits.
Okay.
Um, and I had to drop the studies. I wasn't able to continue, the financial situation, the health crisis also. So it was a very complicated time for me. So yeah, I was always curious to pursue a master's degree. I
Mhm.
tried endless times to get a scholarship
Okay.
because to get into a top university comes with a price. So I was not able to afford me to pay such amounts for fees and
Mhm.
living costs without scholarship.
Mhm.
So I had to leave that dream a little on the side and focus totally on working. And that gap that I left for professional growth, let's say, those were 8 years, right? So I don't know. I just read the brief. I thought that the Center for Research was amazing. The goals aligned to my career objectives. The
Mhm.
topics seemed really interesting to me. And so
Mhm.
I decided to give it a try. And I didn't have high expectations, if I am really honest. Because, as you know, I don't have a master's degree, I just had the bachelor's. But somehow I understood that professional experience also is super important. It's not only having the academic title, let's say. So yeah, I didn't have many expectations or high expectations, and I actually had to go through 3 rounds of interviews, academic writing, and a first draft of a research proposal to be able to compete for a position as a
Mhm.
research affiliate here in Australia.
Okay.
So, long story short, um, there were like 400 people applying for these scholarships because they were scholarships offer,
Okay.
fully funded. I am talking about uh, you have no fees for the studies, and also you're granted a stipend, which is like a payment as part of the staff of the university. So as you can imagine, it was like, wow, the dream kind of program for anybody to pursue, no?
Mhm.
So yeah, I went through these 3 phases, and one day I received the email with huge letters saying congratulations.
Oh.
And I start to have shivers, no? Like
Mhm.
I was in shock. And I
Okay.
come to my girlfriend. I tell her I haven't even opened the email, and I told her I think we made it. I think we're going to Australia.
Oh, it must have been such a happy moment.
Well, it was very fortuitous because one of the dreams of my girlfriend from childhood was to come to Australia.
Oh.
So at the moment that I tell her we're going to Australia, she's in shock,
Okay.
just like me. And I haven't even opened the email yet. I just saw the title of the
So
email, no?
optimistic.
So yes, I tell her, okay, give me a break, let me breathe a little, and now let me go through the email. So I opened the email, hoping it's not something else, or a mistake or something like that. And indeed, it was the letter telling me that I was one of the winners getting the scholarship and
Mhm.
joining to this research program. And then, I jump all over the place. I come to confirm the information with my girlfriend. So it was a very, very exciting moment.
Yeah. So happy for you that again.
Thank you.
And now again, if you could actually tell, like, what exactly are you exploring with the
Yes,
field like architecture and manufacturing? Because it sounds very interesting, and
it
that is
is.
something I would want to know more about.
Sure. Okay, so my topic is modern methods of construction. Okay, so this is a huge umbrella of different techniques, manufacturing techniques, off-site techniques to
Mhm.
improve the way that we build environment. Okay, so it is a fantastic opportunity to go into depth and try to provide a framework
Mhm.
because here in Australia the guys are pushing really hard to face the housing crisis. Here,
Mhm.
actually, in Australia, there is an ongoing housing crisis that aims to be solved through technology. So
Okay.
that's going to be my focus during my research, during these 3 years of research.
Okay.
And yeah, I am aiming to facilitate a data-led approach to improve and apply modern methods of construction into the building culture of the Australian uh, context.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, so on that point, let's say, how do you see the AC industry evolving in the next decade? Do you see that there are a lot of emerging trends, that young professionals should focus about or learn more about? Anything that you want to add on this?
Yes, well, I will always try to aim and defend and push for technology. I think not only is very interesting and very fruitful, and probably most of the architects and the AEC industry will move towards technology. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really, well, the umbrella that technology covers for us as architects, I think it's going to be vast. You just don't have to be a computational designer. If you think about technology, maybe you are saying a computational designer, but not necessarily. I mean, you could be also a visualizer, not a specialist in visualization, and you can adopt AI tools that help you or improve your workflows. But also you can be a landscape architect that adopts AI and just helps you to be a better professional. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say that anything that will fall into the umbrella of technology, let's
Mm-hmm.
call it programming, let's call it AI, machine learning,
Mm-hmm.
robotics, manufacturing, could be a good starting point
Okay.
for current students and also for professionals to have their to put a little bit of their attention and curiosity into those topics. I promise it will help you be a better professional if you want to improve certain skills in your career, or even if you want to go full into one of these design technology roles like a
Mm-hmm.
computational designer.
Okay.
So I think that's where the tendency is going to.
Okay. Great. And amongst all of this and whatever you have shared, it has been really insightful and inspiring. But when did your journey of mentoring actually start? Because I know that you have been a great mentor at Novator since more than a year associated with us, conducting live sessions for the Master Computational Design course. So when did that happen, and how has been your experience being a Novita mentor?
Right. Yes, like you said, I think I became 1 year. It has been 1 year
Mm-hmm.
and 2 months around that
Mm-hmm.
I have been part of this incredible journey with Novatr.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is something that I was not expecting either. Like teaching never
Mm-hmm.
crossed my mind either.
Okay.
So when I was first approached to give it a try to
Mm-hmm.
teach into the computational design masters, I
Mm-hmm.
was very curious because I was not really sure if teaching could be something that I could enjoy and if I could be the right person to teach others, like there is always that kind of insecurity if I am really honest. Um, but with time, I learned to enjoy it. Every time that I do it is very enjoyable for me, very pleasant, because most of the times the students come back and it can be a little thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, thank you for sharing something new with us. That I don't know, it just put a smile on my face, and tells me, wow, I am actually contributing to create a better professional in this case, no? So I don't know, it has been a really nice journey. Everyone at Novatr has been very supportive. Um, so yeah, and also you have the opportunity to interact with so many people from different places,
Mm-hmm.
with different backgrounds and
Mm-hmm.
different goals.
Mm-hmm.
So every cohort is always different
Yeah.
because always the students have different intentions, different goals, and at the end of the day, when you can contribute with these students that have dreams, that have ambitions, just like you had back in the day, I don't know, it puts you in a place where you can reflect a little and probably being grateful of where you are. It just puts you back on earth, It makes you connect again with the beginning of when you were a student and where you maybe try to reach for someone to guide you and maybe
Mm-hmm.
there was nobody at least for me, that really show me or taught me, hey, this is the path. You could try this path. You could try these tools, you know.
Mhm.
So if you are at Novatr and you have this opportunity to learn from any of the amazing mentors that we have available, I think it's a great opportunity to learn, to connect, and to learn a lot. Yeah,
Yeah. And thank you for saying all those kind words. I think it really, makes even us see our vision, happening, because that's exactly what we want to do is we want to give it back to the society by contributing, getting the most wonderful professionals as mentors into the innovator ecosystem. And I'm glad that you also feel the same, where you're also contributing to make, in building great professionals who are going to build great things ahead in future. So that's all about it. And I think just I want to end with a couple of rapid fire questions. Very simple.
sure.
Whatever your initial thoughts are, you're safe to
Okay.
say them. So the first question is, what comes to your mind when I say build a better tomorrow?
Taking care of education, educating
Okay.
properly or professionals or future professionals.
Okay. Thanks. And what does success mean to you?
Success is very relative. I think success can mean a lot of different things. For me, success, it's about freedom
Okay.
and happiness.
Great. And what do you think is your superpower?
Adaptability.
Okay. And is there any tool or a resource that you cannot live without?
Probably my cell phone. It's not that I am super dependent on it,
Yeah.
but I always have this reflex of looking for it because, there is
Okay.
so much information through it. So maybe, yeah.
Interesting. And let's say if you were to start your career today in this
Mhm.
recent year, or let's say 2025, what
Mhm.
would you focus on first?
Hmm. I think once again, I will start to build a strong foundation
Okay.
in architecture as a whole. And
Okay.
later, I will expand into the specificities or the specializations. In my
Okay.
case, it was the digital, but I
Okay.
think I will follow a similar structure, trying to be a decent architect first, because otherwise, if you jump just into, I don't know, the digital
Mhm.
or the construction, I don't know. I think all of these might be interconnected. So there must be, in my opinion, a certain trunk that leads all of the branches.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for that. And just a last question. What's the one piece of advice that you wanna share or give to the aspiring AEC professionals of today's age?
Keep learning. Never stop learning.
Great. And finally, anything that you want to add or talk about, because we are just on the end of the session.
Now, I think it was a really insightful session with you. I am really pleased to have had this opportunity to share a little bit my experience and hopefully to inspire someone out there watching this video.
Yeah, we are equally excited, and it was really nice to have this chat with you. And I'm glad to share this with a lot of viewers here. And I'm hoping that somebody would be resonating with your story. And I'm hoping they would also be reaching out to us or you to know more about, the specifics, anything that they want to know more about. So, guys, we are actually happy to get in touch with you and help you out with any questions that you have. And before we sign off, please don't forget to leave any comments or your key takeaways in the chat. And please feel free to reach out to Lewis or us at Support at Novator. And thank you so much, Lewis, for joining us today and sharing your incredible story and insights with us today. Your journey has been really a testament of curiosity, innovation, and mentorship in shaping the future of AEC. So, so much thanks to you.
Thank
And
you, Anush.
next time, I think we will be keep doing this in the next week also. So see you soon again and have a great day. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day too.
Yeah. See you.